You were. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to call this June 11th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting to order. I ask you, have any cell phones or any other devices, please put them on silence so not to disrupt the meeting. Anyone wishing to address the board, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. First thing on the agenda tonight is approval of minutes from May 14th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or concerns on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Director Sheehan.
Before we get started tonight, I just want to let everyone know, any petitioners that are here, this is normally we normally have 9 voting members. We are 2 members short tonight, so we have 7 voting members here. It takes 5 yes or no votes to either pass or deny a case. So if you're not comfortable having your case heard, not in front of the full board, you certainly can make that known when you come to the microphone, and you could be heard at next month's meeting. That's entirely up to you. The second item is, we are, hope I don't make anybody too mad, but we're going to move the agenda just a little bit tonight. Case P07Z24, we're going to move that to the top of the agenda. Mr. Dehart has to be at another public hearing in another city in about 2 hours, so we're going to try to get him out of here very quickly. So if the board's okay with that, we'll start with case P07Z24, the petition of Abundant Life Church Incorporated requesting the City Plan Commission petition to recommend to the Coatesville Common Council for a change in zone classification from ARC1 agricultural, rural, residential, and small to medium scale general commercial to IS institutional use. This is at 811 East 400 South.
Move for approval.
Second.
Is there someone here to represent this case? Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Adam Dehart. I'm project manager with Keeler Webb Associates. Our address is 486 Gradle Drive, Carmel, Indiana, 46032. I'm going to be brief in my presentation, and I really appreciate you putting me at the front of the agenda so I can navigate my way back through construction to Westfield here. The church, Abundant Life Church, started out in our community here in Kokomo in 2002. In 2011, they moved into the facility that's at the southeast corner of 100 East and 400 South, also known as State Road 26. Church has grown tremendously since then. There was an addition and parking lot addition to the original facility in 2017. In 2018, they added this parking lot here that's about another 150 parking spaces. And this parcel here was identified as Lot 2, and the original church is Lot 1. In 2020 and 21, we started work on the 60,000 square foot new worship center that's here on these 2 parcels right here. There's approximately 580 parking spaces out there today. They have 2 services on Sundays at this campus, and they simulcast in Peru. So as you can imagine, started out from a Bible study in 2001 meeting at the YMCA. They've grown into literally several thousand people in the church and growing along. In the course of this project here, not only did we build the church and the parking lot, we had a new entrance out to State Road 26. The church paid for out of their good graces, as commanded by NDOT, basically a whole brand new intersection out there for passing blisters and drive-throughs. We also improved the County Road 100 East and State Road 26 intersection. We spent tremendous amount of money to go a couple thousand feet off site to grab water main and bring it along the right-of-way to our east corner. What has occurred since that time, and during the course of working all that out, and we were going to need an easement, we had to dedicate right-of-way to the state for all the current road improvements and future improvements that may take place on State Road 26. This 3.63 acres right here in the top left-hand corner in the northwest corner of their facility was purchased from the Kozlinkos. A lot of people refer to this as the Kozlinko property. That was bought during the course of construction. They just finished construction and moved into the facility in the last few months and are up and operating. And we're here today as step A of a three-step process, one being the rezoning of this particular piece of property. And then the next thing will be to update and bring all 4 parcels into one lot 2, so there will be one contiguous large parcel for the campus that is all west of County Road 100 East. What that'll do is allow us to consolidate all of our work, all of our parking there, so it's all in one location. And then upcoming in here in the near future, because of all the people that have moved in, we're probably going to have some parking additions. We'll be bringing that information to staff to review here in the near future. But we're here as step 1 to get the zoning right, then to get the plating right, and then work on our additional parking and things that we got to do to have that facility operated at its best ability. Here this evening is Mr. John Biddles. He's one of the elders and deacons and operator of the church services, and we'd be available for any questions or comments you might have. I know we haven't had any comments from the public. We noticed the project correctly. My last knowledge, staff hadn't heard anything from anybody, and as I said, I'd be available for any further questions you might have, but we're asking for a recommendation from this board to go to the city council for rezoning the property.
Any questions from the board? Director Sheehan, staff report.
Excuse me, staff report for case P07Z24. Abundant Life Church is requested change in zone classification for the parcel shown below to be rezoned from AR agricultural rural residential and C1 to IS institutional. The proposed lot will be the future location for an expansion of the worship facility. This lot will need to be subdivided. Adjoining property zonings are to the north, RR rural residential, to the south and east, both institutional, and to the west, C2 medium to large scale general commercial. According to the City of Kokomo zoning ordinance, the above listed adjoining properties are appropriate adjacent districts. According to the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map, this area of 400 South is located in an area proposed for medium density residential. Medium density residential is an area that accommodates single family housing of various types between 3 to 6 dwelling units per acre. Typically, medium density housing would be single family detached duplexes, triplexes, condominiums, cluster housing, and townhomes, excuse me. Land use goals to encourage orderly and responsible development to promote health, safety, and quality of life of residents in the City of Kokomo while maintaining Kokomo as a leading community for affordable housing. Relevant land use objectives are to allow for a variety of low, mid, and high density land uses to better ensure that there are diverse opportunities to live, work, and play. Remove barriers to the redevelopment of vacant or underutilized commercial and industrial buildings. The goal of the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan Transportation Map is to enhance connections throughout the city for improved safety, function, and efficiency for all modes of transportation, including vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian networks. According to the transportation map, these parcels are primarily located on 400 South, which is defined as being a minor arterial. A minor arterial is a street that collects and distributes traffic to and from collectors and primary arterial streets. The traffic count for this area of 400 South is 6,406 cars per day. The staff desires that the board forward a favorable recommendation to the Kokomo Common Council.
Any questions from the audience? Now we've had the staff report. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of case P07Z24, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. It will now go to Common Council and presented there by Councilman Grieco.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Director Sheehan.
Yeah, the next case we'll move back up to the top of the agenda will be case P11A24, the petition of Trip Engineering and Consulting. Requested development plan approval for Little Rugrats Early Learning Center 2. This is at 1579 West 400 South.
Move for approval.
Second.
If there's someone here to represent this case, please step forward.
Corey Tripp, Tripp Engineering Consulting, 401 South Second Street, Converse, representing Little Rugrats. Just to give you a brief summary of this project, this is the second lot in Cotswold Hills minor subdivision, which is located on the southeast corner of State Road 26 and Dixon Road. This lot will be another daycare. The building is approximately 3,650 square feet. There will be a playground with this also. It's about 1,050 square feet. It's going to use the same entrance that was put in with the first lot. And most of the stormwater infrastructure was installed when the first lot was developed. And so we'll be tying on to that. We didn't have any comments through tech review, so I can answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions from the board? John, we good? We're good. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from the board before I call for a vote? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of case P11A24, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is approved.
Congratulations.
Next case, Mr. President, is case P05P24, petition of Noel Miller, requesting approval of primary and final plat for Miller Farm. This is one lot to the south of 2207 Westdale Court.
Move for approval?
Second. Wyatt Johnson, 555 Market Road. I'm a professional engineer and land surveyor representing Mr. Miller on this. It's a one-lot subdivision, 1 acre at the northwest corner of property that he owns. It's on the east side of Dixon, a little bit north of Markland. The utilities are available, and I don't know if there were any comments from TAC committee, but if there were, they've been addressed.
Any questions from the board? You all good, John? We're all good. Any questions from the audience on this case? Please come forward, sir.
My name is Michael Smith. I live at 2207 Westdale Court. And I'd like to see a diagram of what this subdivision consists of.
Right here.
Are you right on the corner here? Be lot 32.
Struggle with this because I didn't bring my glasses in. I didn't think it was going to be.
I'll point at something, there's my pen. Just don't write on it.
So, if he's directly to my south, I understand 30 and 31 wouldn't be on this side. If he's to my south, this would be the county's park. Or the city park. This is a cul-de-sac. This is a cul-de-sac. That's my house there. It's the right east of it, except the city park.
Well, they may be on lots.
Yeah.
The lots may exist. I don't know that
Yeah, I
they're
think the lots
houses.
exist. The park's there, but those lots do exist on the plat. The lots exist. But it is where the park is, you're correct.
I'm down the street, I just want to see the sign.
Oh, yeah,
Trying to
sure.
call it up.
I know. So, he's coming in off Markland. Is that correct?
Dixon.
Dixon?
No, Dixon would be over here. Dixon would be this way.
This would be Dixon right here.
Well, then he's not next to me. I would be down here. If this is Dixon, you live over here. Yes. I live
Okay.
down here.
Okay.
So this has nothing to do with me. I'm at 2207, which is at the end of the
Okay.
cul-de-sac.
Okay.
This is Dixon. Yeah, I saw the petition sign out there. I says, he must be getting an easement to run.
No. It's just a one lot. He's building one house back there.
Where
Yep,
is it? So he's coming in off of Dixon Road?
that's correct.
All the trees that he's been clearing, that's the driveway for that, so that would be.
Yes, sir. That would be my
So,
understanding.
yeah, so
Let's see
that
where
would
they-
be 2357 Westdale Court right here,
Yeah.
that 32.
Okay.
don't know which one you are.
57 should be the end, I'm just third house in. But I know they've been clearing a lot of this. So I don't know, are they putting a street in here? Because there's already an interest,
No, it's just a drive.
Just
just
a-
a drive
just
in
a
here
drive.
It's a,
for one
it's a
structure.
one house, yes.
One house.
That's all it is. He's subdividing it off enough just to build one house, and there'll be a drive to that house.
That
And
house off of Dixon.
That's it. That drive will come off of Dixon. So there is no streets being constructed on there.
And nothing's gonna be added,
Well,
Just one house.
just
mean-
that, okay.
yeah, I mean, I can't say what he's going to do in the future, but right now, it's just the one house, correct?
I don't-
Okay.
Yeah, I don't intend on giving him a bunch of driveways down
Right,
there.
right,
He's
we
aware of
wouldn't do
that.
that.
Okay. Well, I mean, you know, you just.
You never know, right? It's
And
better
I
to
see all
check.
the trees burning and stuff at night and hearing them clearing,
Okay.
so, okay.
Okay.
Any other questions from the audience on this case? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of case P05P24, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion is approved. Director Sheila.
Yeah, next case will be case P10Z24, petition of ALM Real Estate Holdings LLC by DR Horton, Indiana LLC, requesting the City Plan Commission petitioner recommended the Kokomo Common Council for change in zone classification from LI, Low Intensity Industrial Business Park, to R3, Medium Density Residential. This is 145.691 acres. This is located at 250 South, 75 East, and the 5 adjoining lots to the west.
Move for approval.
Second.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Plan Commission. My name is Brian Toohey. My address is 50 South Meridian. I represent the petitioner in this case, and first off, thank you for your time in hearing our case this evening. Here with me tonight is Lee Phillips and Rob Lukemeyer and Greg Kleiss and Mark Bridwell from DR Horton. Also, we have two folks from our engineering team, Gordon Kreitz and Leanne Farrell. And again, thanks for hearing this case. So this is an interesting case. It's 146 to 147 acres. It's located, as shown here on the exhibit, it's located north of Center Road, south of Alto, and it's 6 different parcels. And one of the interesting things about this parcel, these 6 parcels of land, is currently it's zoned light industrial, or LI. And this LI zoning district is actually surrounded on 3 sides by residential uses. To the north, you have residential uses. To the west, you have Cartwright and commercial uses. But on the other 3 sides, north, south, and east, you have residential uses. And on the east side, you might recall there's an abandoned railroad track. And between this site and then Terrace Meadows is that railroad track, and then there's a parcel, a thin strip of land owned by E&B Paving. And then just at the southeast corner of that, down in this area here, is Comcast and the self-storage. And then along the south of Center Road, along here, you have Highland Springs. So in summary, you've got a site that has been a farm field for a long time. On one side, on the west, there's some commercial uses like Howard County Recycling and some hotels and CTS. On the north, east, and south, you have residential properties. And right now, it's zoned LI. That LI district allows for several different kind of uses. One is a municipal airport. I doubt that that will happen on that site, but that is currently permitted. Another use is they call them industrial business park type uses. It allows for distribution operations, construction trades, industrial facilities. And in the permitted use table, which we've shown on this exhibit, it also includes business, office, professional, and very high intensity retail uses. I think what that means is those would be high traffic generating retail uses. Maybe think Tractor Supply or Home Depot, some of those kind of uses. And my point about that is that's what the site is zoned for now. When you look at the comprehensive plan for Kokomo, that's just a sort of an interesting feature. The site actually has 2 designations. On the west side, it calls for general commercial, which would sort of figure, there's commercial over on the west side. And on the east side, it calls for high density residential. So even though the site is currently zoned for those LI uses, which I just mentioned, it has a comprehensive plan designation of two different kinds, high-density residential and west side commercial. That's a long lead up to what we're here for tonight, and what we're here for this evening is to respectfully request that the site be rezoned for a PUD PUD zoning classification to allow for different kinds of residential uses. And if I can just spend a minute with this site plan, the proposed PUD site plan actually calls out for 3 different uses. And we'll start over here on the east side, which is the biggest district in the site. It's about 92 acres, and that would be single-family homes. And it would be, it's on its border, there would be a rather wide green area, maybe 200 feet or so at different spots, and that's where that railroad, that abandoned railroad track is. And in that area, there would not be homes built, but we would install a walking trail so that you could walk from the sidewalks that would be on both sides of the streets in what we call the Parks District. You could walk on those sidewalks up into this trail and walk around the perimeter of the community. So that would be the first district. That would be about 92 acres, and there would be approximately 295 lots in that. Those would be all single-family homes for sale. It's about 2/3 of the site would be in that district. The next district that we would refer you to would be the Village District, and this would be single-family homes also. These would be, there's about 37 acres, and there's about 116 lots in there. The idea is of those homes would be, those would be a managed community, all for rent, owned by one corporation and developed by D.R. Horton, and then they would all be rented out. And those homes would again be single-family homes, and there's about 116 lots. And then the last residential neighborhood would be over here near the commercial, and that would be called the Crossing, and that's about 16 acres. And the idea there would, those would be either 2-family homes or 4-family homes or possibly multi-family. We haven't exactly figured that out yet, but what that diagram or that plan shows is about 158 homes. So if you were writing down those numbers, which I wouldn't expect you to do, but I'll just fill you in on what our plan is. There's about 569 homes on that 147 acres. That's what the proposed PUD calls for. What would the homes look like? So these would be the homes along the Parks District. That's the 2/3 of the site. These homes would be 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2 or 3 baths. They would be a size from about 1,500 square feet to about 2,600 square feet. In today's dollars, depending on what construction cost, what happens to construction costs, they would be between $275,000 and $335,000. And that, again, is on that eastern part of the site that's closest to the terrace homes to our east. The homes in the Village District, they would be slightly smaller. Those homes would be about 11 to 1,200 feet at the small end to about 1,700 feet at the larger end. They would have 2-car garages. They would be 2 to 4 bedrooms, 2 or 2.5 baths, and these would be all managed by one company. Again, there's about 116 of those on about 37 acres. And then the last development, this shows the town, or the paired patio homes, as we call them, or multifamily. This would be a rendering of what we'd expect. There might also be a version of that top depiction that would be 4 units rather than just 2. And those homes would range in size from about 1,400 square feet to 1,600 square feet. They'd be 3 bedrooms plus maybe a den with 2 to 2.5 baths. And one company would own and manage all those. And there is about 158 units shown on that diagram. So, members of the Planning Commission, to sort of wrap it up, and again, thanks for your time and consideration of this. The idea here is to take that 146 or 147 acres that is zoned LI, and we would request that it be rezoned to a PUD zoning, which would allow residential use, not industrial or commercial use. we would suggest that that mix of a type of residential use is probably more compatible with the surrounding residential uses than developing as an industrial use. There's nothing wrong with industrial uses, it's just now it's become surrounded by residential uses, except over there on the west side. And that the proposed residential uses, we think, are perhaps more compatible with nearby residential uses than this kind of uses that would currently be permitted under the LI zoning. This will allow development of some needed residential housing products in Kokomo. And we've had very compatible, what's the word I'm looking for? We really appreciate working with your staff. They've been excellent to work with. They've been very, very helpful, and I believe that they have suggested that this should receive a favorable recommendation, and we greatly appreciate that. So with that, we'll conclude our presentation, and thank you again for your time.
Any questions from the board before we have staff report? Director Sheehan.
Staff report for case P10Z24, ALM Real Estate Holdings LLC for DR Holton, Indiana LLC is requested a change in zone classification from LI Low Intensity Industrial Business Park to R3 Medium Density Single Family Residential. Adjoining property zonings are to the north R1, to the south R1 and AR Agricultural Residential, to the east MI Low Density Multifamily, and to the west LI Low Intensity Industrial Business Park, C2 Medium to Large Scale General Commercial, R1 Very Low Density Residential, and AR Agricultural Rural Residential. According to the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map, the 6 parcels located between East Alto Road and East Center Road are located in an area designated for high-density residential and general commercial. High-density residential is defined as being single-family and multifamily housing of various types over 6 dwelling units per acre. Typical high-density housing would be townhomes, cluster housing, apartments, condominiums. General commercial is defined as being a commercial area that accommodates a wide variety of large and small-scale commercial uses. Typically, this category is for commercial uses that cater to vehicular traffic and high visibility from major roadways. Land use goals to encourage orderly and responsible development, to promote health, safety, and quality of life of residents in the city of Kokomo while maintaining Kokomo as a leading community for affordable housing. Relevant land use objectives are to encourage adequate land for residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, and recreational uses, to designate specific districts in the community suitable for residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, and recreational uses. The goal of the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan Transportation Map is to enhance connections throughout the city for improved safety, function, and efficiency for all modes of transportation, including vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian networks. According to the transportation map, these parcels abut East Alto Road and East Center Road. These roads are defined as being major collectors. A major collector is a street designed to facilitate the collection of traffic from local streets. Also, it provides circulation within neighborhood areas and convenient ways to reach arterial streets. The traffic count for this area is 3,433 cars per day. The staff desires that the board forward a favorable recommendation to the Kokomo Common Council.
I got a question. You want to explain, this is just for the R3?
Yes, yeah, just so the board understands, we have 2 cases for this potential development. The first one we're looking at tonight is just rezoning from the low-intensity industrial to an R3 zone. The next case will actually be looking at rezoning for the PUD. So just want to make sure the board understands what we're voting on in the first case.
Okay, I'm gonna open the questions to the floor, but if that made sense, what we're voting, this case right here, we're just voting to go to R3 now, where that is, the PUD is the next case. So if you want to address the fact that it's just going to residential, I'll be more than happy to hear your questions. If not, then we'll go to open the PUD and get your questions on it. Did that?
Can you explain why there's 2 different parts to this? I don't understand that.
The easiest way to explain it, you cannot, in the ordinance, you cannot go from, where are we now? LI. You can't go from an LI
To a planned development.
to a PDR3. You have to be in an R3 district to become a planned development district. So that this is a technicality to get you from step one to step two to get to the meat of the order if you want a PUD out there. I don't want to discourage anybody from asking any questions, but that's, right now, we're doing just going from
LI.
LI to R3
To R3. That's what we're doing in this case.
in
right
this
here.
case.
No,
No,
Next
no,
case.
we're
That's
next, this is right after
no,
this.
it's the next case after this one.
Hearing none, do I have any questions from the audience?
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Rose Causey. I live at 4107 Coulter Drive. And this big farm backs up to my property. And there's a park that he's talked about going along the back, along the railroad track. He stated at the meeting that there would not be any kind of playground or play equipment for the children, no baseball parks. But could they change that in the future?
Could they, as the homeowners association?
The developer. Can the developer change that? Well, if they have a homeowners association, yeah, can they change that?
They could petition to change that, yeah, sure.
And the same if they'd want to change the apartment complexes, which are quite large, if they wanted to change that to government assisted, they could always change that too, correct?
It would provide more public hearings. You would certainly have a say.
Right.
This,
Well, it would depend on it would depend on the transition, right? I mean, we don't approve whether it's subsidized housing or not. That's not what this board does.
Right.
So, I mean, if they wanted to change that dynamic for themselves, that might take another public hearing through another board, but not this one,
Right.
so.
Well, I feel like it's going to devalue all of our properties that backs up to this, no matter what street you live on. If your property backs up to this, I feel like it's going to devalue it.
But
So I'm
history has
against-
shown the
so I'm
exact
against it.
opposite.
Excuse me?
History has shown the exact opposite. He's saying the homes that are gonna be directly by you are 2 to 300,000, or 175 to 2 or 3, 2 to 3. So it's
One of the
gonna be,
reasons I bought my home was because there was a farm behind it.
but you don't buy the land behind you and the
No,
views
I
behind
don't.
you.
No, I
So
don't. But that's one of the reasons
what we're looking
we
at
bought
right
it.
now is whether or not we're gonna go from LI to
Yeah,
R3.
and I understand that you're looking at this because you want to bring more money into the city. They'll pay double taxes, just like we do. And I understand that, but one of the reasons I moved there was because there wasn't anything behind me.
Understood, but what this board looks at is can the land facilitate the R3 right now?
And none of the other people in our HOA were even notified of this meeting.
They won't because they're not adjoining properties,
And
only
it'll
adjoining
affect their
properties.
property also, and all the traffic. And he said he's done water studies. I've talked to numerous people in our HOA. We already have problems with water pressure. When we moved into that property, I couldn't believe our water pressure.
And that'll be something that he has to address and the
He's
developer
already
has
said
to
at the
address.
last meeting it was fine. He talked to the water company. He said it was
Well,
fine.
keep in mind, I don't want to get off track here. All this board is looking at tonight is two different rezonings. There'll be another public hearing down the road when we get to that point where there'll be what's called a site plan approval. They will come back before this board again, and that's when those kinds of questions will be answered, because that's when John, our city engineer, will have a chance to look at all the drainage. That's what that meeting's for. And all that will be looked at, discussed.
Yeah. And this is the
handed
first
out.
step. This is the first step,
This is
though.
the first step,
Yeah,
that's correct.
I'm against it.
Okay.
The other thing you need to keep in mind, though, is as it's zoned right now, without getting any permission from anybody, somebody could come along and build a small factory right behind your house.
Yep.
Would you prefer to have a small factory,
And
get
there
another
probably
house?
be less traffic.
But they haven't for the last 20 years.
They haven't, but we're seeing an awful lot of growth and building in our community right now. So that's not to say that it won't happen now.
Could be a Home Depot too.
Could be a Home Depot back there, which would certainly have some traffic.
Be convenient though.
Hop over the railroad track, pick up a few things, sure.
I just wanted to say, I live over on Alto Road.
If you
Name it,
station, yeah.
ma'am,
Name and address.
ma'am, name and address first,
Oh,
please.
My name is Maynell Blackburn. My address is 809 East Alto. Okay. Where they're gonna be an entrance to the condos
That'll
is right
be
next to my house.
That'll be separate. That's not determined yet.
But
That's just a
I think I've
concept that
pretty
he
well
showed.
got it worked out, who I'm gonna talk to about it.
That's
Because I would
later
like to
during
have
the
a
site
little
approval.
privacy.
That's in the site development plan.
Okay.
Right now, we're
I
just doing
wanted to
zoning.
say that.
Any other questions from the audience on the R3 vote? Any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of case P10Z24, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion is approved and now goes to the common council and presented here by Councilman Greencue. Director Shield.
Now, this case is case P11Z24, the petition of ALM Real Estate Holdings LLC by D.R. Holton, Indiana LLC, requesting the City Plan Commission petition and recommending the Copeville Common Council for change in zone classification from R3 medium density residential to PDR3 for a planned unit development. Again, this is 147 acres.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. You want to come, present everything?
Yeah, I would have.
Yeah, please come
Should we
forward and
come
give
back
us,
up and let him?
let's concentrate on the PUD part of it.
Thank you, members of the Plan Commission. Just for the record, again, my name is Brian Toohey, and I'm here representing the petitioner. Maybe I'll focus on the planned unit development aspect of this and try to answer a couple of the questions that were raised by the neighboring property owners. The first issue, I think, is along this area, and the question was whether or not we would be putting baseball parks or playgrounds or some other types of amenities. And our planned unit development statement does not include putting those items in that area. In fact, if the Plan Commission was so inclined, we would make a commitment this evening not to develop that in any way other than passive recreation. And by that I mean walking trails, or sometimes you see those fitness benches along that area. We'd like to use that area for people to walk up and down in. We're going to put a trail in there. We think it's a terrific amenity, and it separates our neighborhood from our neighbors to the east and leaves a pretty substantial green area. As I said earlier, it's about 200 feet wide in different places along our eastern border. So that's part of our planned unit development. Another part of our planned unit development is to have an amenity area for the folks that live in this community, but that amenity area is right here. And in there, we would expect to see things like playgrounds or a sports court or a combination of playgrounds and sports courts. It seems to be pickleball. Everybody in the world's building pickleball courts, so maybe we put pickleball in there, or you'd have a barbecue area, a playground area. But that's about 2.5 acres, so we've got some room to put that right in there. And you can see it's in the central part of the community. All these streets will have sidewalks, so the idea is to have a central amenity area where people can walk or ride their bike to. That's, again, part of this planned unit development. Mrs. Blackburn, she's a very pleasant woman. She came to our neighborhood meeting. We had a neighborhood meeting on May 30th. I think there was about 37 or 38 people attended. The way we invited those folks is we went around the perimeter of the property, and everyone that was to get notice under the zoning, we invited them to the neighborhood meeting. And it turns out, I think we actually sort of over-invited, because I think the rules of the Plan Commission say that you should go 1 or 2 properties past your property. And we just didn't realize until it was too late that E&B Paving owned a parcel, a strip of ground all along here. So we went deeper into this subdivision, which was fine with us. We assume everybody's gonna know about this, and we made a similar presentation where we said that this area would stay as a passive recreation, and our amenity area with playgrounds and things like that would be over here. As to Mrs. Blackburn, she's right in this area right here. And when we get to the site development plan, we'll have more detail on that. But understandably, she's concerned about what will happen with this road coming in here. We can either come up with some kind of fencing along her property, or maybe a row of evergreen trees. We don't have any problem with doing that. And you can see there's a fairly wide green area along here. That's a legal drain or ditch, and so we're not going to be developing right up against our neighbors to the north, nor are we going to be developing right up against our neighbors to the south. We left 40 or 50 feet along here, and that's from the back of these actual lots to the backs of those folks' lots. So if you look at this just for a minute, the whole perimeter, west, north, east, and south, is ringed with green areas, and that is to create some buffer or setback from the long existing neighborhood property owners. In terms of timing of this will take a while. If everything worked according to plan, the development work would start on this parcels sometime in 2025. And I reached out to the school superintendent to see if there was adequate capacity in the schools for the eventual children that would live here, and I was advised there will be, and they were welcoming, I'll say it that way. But there won't be 500 homes here next year, or the year after that, or the year after that. This is a 7-year kind of time frame likely to take it. I mean, it could go as fast as 5 if Kokomo grows like it seems to be growing recently, but it also could take 7 to 10 years. It's just hard to predict. But if everything went according to plan, we'd expect to have homes there sometime in the very end of 2025, maybe, or first of 20. Probably the first quarter of 2026. So that's when you'd actually see folks moving into these homes if things would go according to plan. The D.R. Horton Company is a publicly traded home builder. They've got the financial wherewithal to develop a community like this. They develop between Indianapolis and Fort Wayne. They have a sizable presence over in Ohio. They've got a sizable presence across the United States, but here locally in the Midwest. They probably have a dozen communities in the central Indiana area, Hamilton County, Hancock County, Hendricks County, Marion County, and then on up into Allen County in Fort Wayne. And they really think this is a terrific site it's kind of an infill site, as these folks have said. They've been looking at a farm field for a long time, but it doesn't seem likely that in the future, that 146 acres that's surrounded on the west by different kinds of commercial uses and surrounded on the north, south, and east by residential uses, and it's got a LI zoning, it's not likely to remain a farm field for very long into the future, especially given your community's growth. So for those reasons, we think planned unit development where you have a kind of a cohesive plan for developing different sections of the community, of your neighborhood here, we think that works best. And with that, would respectfully ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Any questions from the board before we have staff report? Director Sheehan.
Staff report for case P11Z24. Contingent on the passing of case P10Z24, ALN Real Estate Holdings LLC for DR Horton, Indiana LLC has requested change in zone classification from 6 parcels from R3 medium density single residential to a planned unit development in order for the area to be utilized as mixed use residential. Adjoining property zonings are to the north R1, to the south R1, to the east MI, to the west LI. According to the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan, future land use map, the 6 parcels located between East Alto Road and East Center Road are located in an area designated for high-density residential and general commercial. High-density residential is defined as being single-family, multifamily housing of various types, over 6 dwelling units per acre. Typical high-density housing would be townhomes, cluster housing, apartments, condominiums. General commercial is defined as being commercial area that accommodates a wide variety of large and small-scale commercial uses. Typically, this category is for commercial uses that cater to vehicular traffic with high density, high visibility from major roadways. Land use goals to encourage orderly, responsible development, to promote health, safety, and quality of life of the residents in the city of Kokomo while maintaining Kokomo as a leading community for affordable housing. Encourage adequate land for residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, and recreational uses. Designate specific districts in the community suitable for residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, and recreational uses. The goal of the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan Transportation Map is to enhance connections throughout the city for improved safety, function, and efficiency for all modes of transportation, including vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian networks. According to the transportation map, these 6 parcels, but both East Alto Road and East Center Road, these roads are defined as being in major collectors. A major collector is a street designated to facilitate the collection of traffic on local streets. Also provide circulation within neighborhood areas and convenient ways to reach arterial streets. The traffic count for this area is 3,433 cars per day. The staff desires that the board forward a favorable recommendation to the Kokomo County Council.
Any questions from the board now with that staff report? Any other questions from the audience?
I'm Rose Causey, 4107 Coulter Drive, again. He stated that they would put benches and such in the park so that people could watch us in our backyards whenever they wanted to see who's home, who's not. It's going to be more crime in our neighborhood, and I'm against it for that reason also. You could build a wall, but it's going to be 2-story housing there, so they're going to be able to look down on our property. There's no 2-story housing in my HOA, Terrace Meadows, and I'm against it for that reason also. Does anybody else want to say anything from my neighborhood or from any adjoining property?
Please.
Now's the time to say it.
This is the time to get up here and say it, yeah. I'm very unhappy with this.
Okay.
And you said that it raises our property values?
Yes,
I've been
ma'am.
in this situation before, and they put a drug rehab behind my home. It did
That's
not raise the
totally
value of my
separate.
property.
These are homes. That's a facility.
I know, but there's gonna be
Okay,
apartments
folks,
there,
we're-
and they can always change that to government assisted. I've lived in government assisted housing before, and there's crime.
Well,
And that's why I moved where I'm at now, to get
what
away
they're
from it.
proposing is single-family housing,
I know, but there's 2 apartment complexes there on
and
the
they're
other
given a
side.
200-foot roughly buffer that is way beyond what they're required to do. You know, I know you're upset, and I understand that, but you've got to look at it from
From your
my
point.
perspective,
Bring more money into Kokomo, more tax
No, it's to
dollars.
get more
Absolutely
housing in
not.
Kokomo, which we desperately need, ma'am. We
Put it in your
need
backyard.
housing.
Then put it in your backyard.
This is our backyard. We're in Kokomo. The whole city is our
It's
backyard.
not your
Folks,
backyard,
folks,
it's my
listen.
backyard.
Okay, I'm gonna be very blunt here, okay?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna be very blunt. Kokomo needs housing. And if anyone in this audience thinks that a parcel of 145 acres, with the way things are going on in Kokomo, is not going to get developed, you're fooling yourself. Because if this group doesn't
We know
develop
you're
it,
gonna pass it.
can I speak, please? Can I speak? Thank you.
Forgive me.
That's fine. All I'm saying is, if this group doesn't develop this, somebody else will. And as Mr. Toohey said, the way it's zoned now, you sit there and tell me you'd want a factory behind you, I don't believe that for 1 second.
And there's not gonna be one there either.
There could be.
No, there.
George, if you're
Not
gonna
enough
speak,
traffic.
George, if you're gonna speak, I need you to identify yourself, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all, it's your, I gotta have on record. Sir, you have something?
I'm saying, the way it's zoned right now, they could come in and they could put, you could have, in very high-intensity retail, you could have,
Car dealership.
yeah,
You could have anything.
you could have semi-tractor,
Anything.
you could have semi-tractor trailer sales in LI. If that's what you want behind your home, that's what you could get, the way it's zoned now. You don't mean that. I know better than that.
Maynell Blackburn, 809 East Alto. I'm all for it. I mean, it's okay with me, but the biggest problem is it's right next to my house.
I understand.
Where the entrance.
The gentleman said he would address that.
She has trees to hide her. I'm not criticizing, no, I'm not. But this is gonna be right next to my house, 20 steps from my driveway to that entrance. And the neighbor on the east side of it, he's even closer. So, it's not in my backyard, it's right next to my house.
And you're for it?
Huh?
And you're for it?
I don't care, I mean, we need
Sir?
housing. We need houses in Kokomo.
Name's Ty Calloway. I live at 3166 South, 150 East on Flowing Wall Road. If you look at that chart where the center, the word center, R is where my mother lives. We moved out there, my parents did in 1959.
Okay.
And she's still living, she's 95 years old. And the biggest concern she has, I'm here really speaking for her and some of my neighbors on Flowing Wall Road, the housing addition I don't think it's a big problem, but the biggest concern we have is the apartments. There's got to be a guarantee that they're not going to turn into government apartments. Because I do Meals on Wheels, and I go to some of those areas, and boys, the benefits aren't very good from that. The money you guys are getting for government, there's more problems created than what that is helping. And I think the biggest concern is we could have a definite answer, is that going to definitely not be government housing? Because we don't need more people from St. Louis and Chicago coming to Kokomo. It's as simple as that. So that's my opinion, and but like I said, we just got to know that it's not going to be government-assisted apartments, because you guys are getting, we're getting money just to let those people come in, and where the benefits are not very good. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience?
Hi, I'm Linda Moss, and I apologize for being late. I had it wrong on my calendar, but I'm against it. We live on the backside where it shows the green space, and then there's the railroad track right there. I don't know if the farmer did it or the city, but a lot of trees were taken out, so we'll have no privacy from them unless other trees are planted, or some type of privacy fence, something to block it from us. We are used to the quiet there. We have a lot of deer and wildlife, and I'm sure that will go away. But I'm concerned about the noise with that size of development. You're going to have, loud children, barking dogs, a lot of things that we don't have in our neighborhood right now. So I'm really against it. So I would like to address the fact that, I know we can't stop it, but I would like if we could put some more at least trees to block out where our view is, because we look right into the field right now.
Okay.
The trees were taken out, but, and I'm also very concerned about the apartments, because I'm sure they'll eventually turn into a Section 8. Section 8 equals crime, and we don't want crime in our backyard, so.
This is not being promoted for Section
Oh,
8.
I know, but things happen.
Now, ma'am, as far as the trees and the fence, that's something that we can look at when we come back for site plan approval. That's something that certainly can be discussed during that public meeting. Okay?
Any other questions from the audience?
My name's Tricia Reibold. I live at 904 East Center Road, which is right here. I own all of this property right here. We have the biggest lot there. It's 2 acres. That's why we bought it. Same with them. There's a field behind us. We have a piece. I have 2 dogs. I have 10 grandkids. We have a fenced yard, but the back is open. The deer do come up there. We have apple trees. All that aside, I have 2 acres. They're going to sell a house on every quarter of an acre. That doesn't mean I have a backyard neighbor. That means I have 8 backyard neighbors behind my house if they put a house every quarter of an acre. So that I do have an issue with. I don't mind having 1 person, maybe 2, but I will have 8 houses behind my property. And I don't know how to fix that. It's already drawn up. They want to sell them every quarter of an acre. But that's a lot of people to be putting right behind my house. We have a pool. There's tons of neighbors, tons of eyes, tons of kids, tons of everybody that are just all of a sudden in my backyard, and it's not with trees. It's not with anything else. You're talking from here to that wall, 50 feet, because we have no protection on that side, and I'm gonna have 8 neighbors. I have a huge problem with that. I did not buy that house with 8 neighbors on the back side of my house. I've lived there for 20 years. That house with that property's been for sale for about 10 of those years. We had already looked into it. We knew the right of way for the farmer next to us wasn't wide enough for a road. So we knew there shouldn't be a drive next to us, but I didn't expect 8 neighbors right behind my house in that little area. I think that's a lot. That's just my opinion.
I will point out that, not for nothing, but the comprehensive plan does allow up to 6 dwelling units per acre, roughly. And by my calculations, they're at 3.9. So they're not at the apex of what could happen, what the comprehensive plan. So again, you know, I mean, I don't want to say, be careful what you ask for, because it could get worse. Correct? Okay.
It's just not what I want for where I live.
Well, to Mr. Sheeline's point, ma'am, this is not going to remain a field for very much longer, no matter what goes in.
Well, I could
This
even
will not remain
Folks,
an open
hang on.
field for very much longer.
If you're going to speak, you have to come to the microphone because this is being recorded. It's on TV, so you need to please come to the microphone. Thank you.
I totally get what you're saying. Although, like I said, I've lived there for 20 years and it's been the most peaceful place ever.
Sure.
Other than there's wrecks in my front yard all the time where people pull around to Highland Springs. That's happened several times, which I think the traffic will increase immensely and that will just multiply. I've had a death in front of my house. I've had 2 cars just last year that wrecked and ended up in the middle of my front yard, almost hit a tree. We've had decorated rocks out by the road that we've had to move because people hit them so many times. We just gave up and got rid of them because of all the traffic, and they don't stop for the Highland Springs people. They just fly around and drive right through the edge of my road all the time. There's big ruts. I mean, you're going to put 10 times as much traffic out there now with 100 and, how many residents did you say? 300 and some? Can you imagine how many people are going to drive right in front of my house now compared to before?
560.
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to drive past there to go to the school. They're all going to drive, I mean, it's the Marriage Road right there. And they want to build sidewalks, I've seen on the edge of the thing. The front of my house, because it was built in 1860, does not set far off the road. They've already widened the road for Center Road to make it more access. Then they came by and they put bike tracks in there and took my front yard again. They're practically from here to probably that desk is the road, Center Road from the front of my house. So if they want to put sidewalks there and any kind of thing to widen the road to assess the extra traffic, they're literally going to be sitting on my front porch. The Center Road is. So I don't know how to fix any of those issues, and I know you all probably don't either, but I was never planning on moving. That was my forever home. We've redone the house. We had 1 room left to fix. 1 room. I just put a whole house water system for $8,000 in 2 months ago. I just dug a hole for $1,000 for an in-ground pool the week before we got the letter about this housing addition. My pool sits in the middle of a hole and isn't used because I'm not paying for a deck for it if I'm not going to be living there. So everything is on hold, and I'm not saying you all can do anything about it, but this is not why I bought my house to live. I didn't buy my house to live with 8 neighbors behind me and all the traffic, extra traffic from a housing addition.
And I understand all of that. I truly do. But the bottom line is, if you don't own those parcels behind you.
I know. I tried to buy them. They wouldn't sell me just part of it. I tried.
I completely understand all that. I really do.
Yeah, they wanted me to buy it all or none, and I couldn't afford it all, so.
No, I understand. I do.
Any other questions or comments from the audience?
Dave Nelson, 948 Center Road, East Center Road, and I'm pretty much saying what she says. I like the farm field, but I understand they have the rights to develop it. I'm really against it being high-density residential. Residential is fine, but nice big lots. So because Center Road is very busy already, as she stated. It's even worse down since you got rid of the shoulder of the road, because when the garbage trucks go down, the mailman goes down, Cars get stuck behind it. Before it was a full shoulder, now it's a half a shoulder because you put a bike path in, which makes it much worse with the traffic. And more traffic is not needed on that road. So that's my main concern, is the traffic and the intensity of the development.
Sure. Anyone else in the audience?
My name's George Anthony. I'm Rose's brother. I'm here to give her suggestions and so forth.
I need an
But,
address, George.
And Greg and Mike, you know,
George, I need an address also. You give me your sister. I got it.
36 Timberley Place, Greentown.
Thank you, sir. And anyway, just so,
Her address, you want her address?
just for the record, you have to have an address to speak. You're good.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. We've discussed this for the last few weeks, and we know that they're gonna develop this land. We know that. Don't you think it would be good if you guys would suggest to the people that are concerned, instead of trying to stop it, which you're not gonna do, okay? Give them some suggestions on different issues on a wall, where the park should be. Should it be in the center of their area or on the edge where they live?
Those conversations will be had during the site plan meeting.
Okay,
I've
but
said that twice already.
Couldn't you give them those kind of suggestions so they could think about that when they do come to the meeting? You know, if you don't know problems, you can't ask a civil question.
I understand. They're sitting back there in the back row. They've heard everything that's been said tonight.
Okay,
I'm sure they're
okay.
going to take everything into consideration.
Sure,
And when we have that site plan meeting,
Yeah.
those types of conversations can be
Okay.
had, for sure. Absolutely.
As will we.
Well, I mean, you guys have got responsibilities too, to the citizens that are in here with objections and concerns.
The
You
other
know,
thing-
you need to
Keep in mind,
step up
this
a little
is just
bit.
a concept.
Sir, hang on a second. What do you mean step up a little bit?
Step up and let them know, hey, walls, this, that, the park.
Right now, all my office has looked at this point in time is the rezonings. And we,
I understand that. That's not why they're here. They're not here to stop the zoning because they're not, no, it's not gonna happen.
I didn't say that, but you need to let me finish, please.
Okay,
You're saying
thank
I
you.
need to step up.
Sure.
We will step up when we start having those conversations. We will have those conversations with city engineering about traffic. We will have that conversation about drainage. We will have those conversations with the group back there to see what we can do to help out on some of these areas
Mm-hmm.
that you would like to see fences or trees or whatever. We'll have those conversations.
That's great.
But we just haven't had them yet,
Yeah.
because right now we're just.
That's not what this meeting's about. Well, I understand that.
Right, well.
But you got an opportunity now to say something like that to these people
We
so they
have.
can think
We
about
have.
what's coming.
We've said that multiple times tonight. The other
No,
thing to remember
you've
is
not
that
given
this-
suggestions. You just,
Okay.
There is no
I'm
suggestion.
gonna address your
Okay.
concerns. I'm gonna try to.
Sure.
Okay? Yeah, I appreciate your sarcasm. So what they're here tonight is for rezoning. For them to go through the process of giving us the tremendous amount of details we would need to make those decisions that you all are asking us to do is a gigantic expense.
sure.
No one is going to invest that money if they can't even get it through rezoning. So that's why we're telling you, we're not here to discuss that right now, because
Understand.
what they're giving us right now is not enough information to make those decisions that you all are wanting to see.
Okay.
But it's a step that gets us to that point. So
But-
does that make any more sense?
I know exactly what it's for,
Okay.
but they didn't. That's why they're here.
Sure they do. They know that too. This
No,
isn't
they,
the
no,
first
they
time-
didn't, no, they, okay.
This isn't
I'm
the
sorry,
first time
I
they've done
interrupted.
this. This isn't the first time they've done this, and trust me, my office has had several discussions with the group back there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, this isn't something that's new to anybody. But we will discuss all of these issues in the site plan. And we have a,
After you pass this zoning.
pardon me?
After you pass this rezoning,
Yeah, the rezoning's the first step, correct.
yeah, after you pass it, you'll discuss all the other things, right?
No, it becomes up to them whether or not they want to invest the further money,
Yeah.
to John's point. It got rezoned, now they get to decide.
They don't invest money unless they can make money.
Can I finish?
We know that.
Can I finish? Thank you. They are the developers. They will decide, hey, it got rezoned, do we want to further invest time? All they did was put together a concept. That's all that is, a concept. If they decide to pull out, the rezoning was for naught. It's up to them to carry this further. All we are doing is rezoning. After that, it sits on their shoulders. They will come back to us if we are to proceed further. That's it.
I mean, to their credit, as a developer, they've already involved more people in this process and sought more feedback than they were obligated to do.
Correct.
So at this point, there's no reason to believe that they're suddenly going to become a bad neighbor when they've gone out of their way to try and look at the community's concerns and turn this into something that's going to be a positive for the community.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've shown a good faith in inviting people to have that conversation up front.
They did not have to have the community meeting. That's not a requirement. My office suggested that to them. As soon as we did, they jumped on it. They thought that was a great idea, to have the community meeting so everybody could get in one spot and have some discussion and at least know what's going on. Because obviously, anytime you do something like that, there's a lot of misinformation being passed around. And so we always suggest that developers, especially something this size, have a community meeting, so at least, that doesn't mean you're all gonna be talked into loving the idea. That's not the point of it. The point is to get the information out there, exactly what they're trying to do. So they did go, as Councilman Grecu said, they did go above and beyond what they had to do to get to this point even, so.
Again, what this board is gonna vote on tonight is not whether it gets rezoned or not, it's whether it goes to the city council. That's what, that's.
Correct.
We don't choose. It's either a favorable or non-favorable. City council takes care of the rezoning. We try to work out some of the bugs. It's nice to hear people come. I hate when somebody comes in and they're told that'll be taken at a later date. I still would rather have it at this meeting so everybody can hear it and understand what the concerns are. There's been a lot of developments that when you have a buffer yard, there's buffers here. Things have been worked out. Things have changed. They're not real big, but they're stuff that kind of makes you happy. You don't see it. But a lot of that, when we have participation from the public and we have people listening, we get them talking, and a lot of times it becomes a win-win. So, if I don't have any other questions from the floor, if I don't have any questions from the board, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of case P11Z24, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. It will now go to the Common Council and will be presented there by Councilman Grecu. Director Seeline, anything under other business?
I have no other business. No.
Next on the agenda is approval of claims.
I move that we approve claims in the amount of $25,776.70.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of claims. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The claims are approved. For your information, the county does not have a meeting this month.
I move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.